Dandat. Yes, Maharaj,
Jai.
you can start.
Jai. Jai Krishna Sipa Jai. Jai Radha Madhav Kunj Vihari Gopi Jana Vallabha Girivaradhari.
Jai Radha Madhav Kunj Bihari Gopi Jana Vallabha Girivaradhari.
Yashoda Nandana Vraj Jana Ranjana Yamuna Tiravanachari.
Yashodanandana Braja Jana Ranjana Yamuna Tiravanachari.
Yashoda Nandana Vraj Jana Ranjana Yamuna Tiravanachari.
Yashodanandana Braja Jana Ranjana Yamuna Tiravanachari.
Jai Radha Madhav Kunja Vihari Gopi Jana Vallabha Girivaradhari.
Jai Radha Madhav Kunja Bihari Gopi Jana Vallabha Girivaradhari.
Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna, Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Nitai Gaura Hari Bol, Hari Bol, Hari Bol, Nitai Gaura Hari Bol.
Nitai Gaur Hari Bol, Hari Bol, Hari Bol, Nitai Gaur Hari Bol.
Jaya Jaya Prabhupada, 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 Srila Prabhupada.
Jaya Jaya Prabhupada, Prabhupada, Srila Prabhupada.
Jaya Jaya Shripad, 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 Srila Shripad. Jaya Jaya,
Jaya Jaya Shripad, Shripad, Srila Shripad.
Jaya Jaya Gurudev, 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 Srila Gurudev, Jaya Jaya
Jaya
Gurudev.
Jaya Gurudev, 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 Srila Gurudev.
Nittai Gaura Hari Bol, Hari Bol, Hari Bol, Nittai Gaura Hari Bol, Nittai Gaura Hari Bol.
Hari Bol, Hari Bol, Hari Bol, Nitai Gaur Hari Bol.
Jai Gauranga Premanande, Hari 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 Bol. Bolo Jai Jai Shri Radhe, Jai Jai Shri Radhe, Jai Jai Shri Radhe Shyam. Nitai Gauranga Bhagwan, Jai Jai Shri Vrindavan Dham Ki Jai. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Narayanam Namaskritya Naram Chaiva Narottamam Devim Saraswatim Vyasam Tato Jayam Udirayet. Nashta Praeshu Abhadreshu Nityam Bhagavat Sevaya Bhagavati Uttama Shloke Bhaktir Bhavati Naishthiki. So, welcome everyone in this wonderful transcendental program of studying of Srimad-Bhagavatam. So we are in 7th canto of Srimad-Bhagavatam, and chapter 4, that is entitled is Hiranyakashipu's is creating havoc, and we are in 30th shloka today, where Narad Muni is speaking. He is addressing to the Devatas, and so after assuring the Devatas, demigods, about the Lord will take care of Hiranyakashipu, so he is not a botheration. He won't be a botheration. He is dead. So today's shloka says, Tasya Daityapate Putras Chatvara Paramadbhutaha Pralado Bhunmahamstesham Gunairmahadupasakah. Translation purport by His Divine Guest Abhay Charana Arvind Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada. Translation. Hiranyakashipu had 4 wonderful, well-equipped, well-qualified sons, of whom the one named Prahlad was the best. Indeed, Prahlad was a reservoir of all transcendental qualities because he was an unalloyed devotee of the personality of Godhead. Responsibly, please, what an amazing translation. Hiranyakashipu had 4 wonderful, well-qualified sons,
Hiranyakashipu had 4 wonderful, well-qualified sons,
of whom the one named Prahlada was the best.
of whom the one named Prahlada was the best.
Indeed, Prahlad was a reservoir of all transcendental qualities
Indeed, Prahlad was a reservoir of all transcendental qualities
because he was an unalloyed devotee of the personality of Godhead.
because he was an unalloyed devotee of the personality of Godhead.
Purport. Yashasti bhakti bhagavatya kinchana sarvair gunaistatra samasate suraha. In one who has unflinching devotional faith in Krishna, all the good qualities of Krishna and the demigods are consistently manifest. Bhagavatam 5:18-12. Prahlada Maharaj is praised herein for having all good qualities because of worshipping the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Therefore, a pure devotee who has no motives has all good qualities, material and spiritual. If one is spiritually advanced, being a staunch, liberal devotee of the Lord, all good qualities are manifest in his body. On the other hand, Harab Bhaktasya Kuto Mahadguna. If one is not a devotee, even if he has some materially good qualities, they have no value. That is the verdict of the Vedas. Om Ajnana Timirandhasya Jnananjana Shalakaya Chakshurunmilitam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namah. Namam Vishnupadaya Krishna Preshthaya Bhutale Srimate Bhakti Swarupa Damodar Swami Niti Namine Namah Sadbhakta Manaye Manipurudbhavaya Jai Srila Prabhupada Lasadvani Prachara Niratayate Namo Mahavadanyaya Krishna Prema Pradayati Krishnaya Krishna Chaitanya Namne Gauratvishe Namah. Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shri Vasadi Shri Gaura Bhakta Vrinda. Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Ram 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 Hare Hare. Nama Sankirtanam Yasya Sarva Papa Pranashanam Pranamo Dukkha Shamanas Tam Namami Harim Param. Vancha kalpatarubhyascha kripa sindhubhya eva cha patitanam pavanebhyo vaishnavebhyo namo namah. Vaishnavebhyo namo namah. Vaishnavebhyo namo namah. Acknowledging the great merciful and blessing mood of all the Vaishnavas, we continue our Anushilan or study of Srimad-Bhagavatam, which is the essence of this Bhagavad culture. The glorification of Srimad-Bhagavatam includes the glorification of the pure devotees, glorification of the pure devotional service process, the glorification of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Because ultimately the perfection of this Bhagavad study is acknowledging the pure devotee in our life. That will do it, because when one acknowledges from the heart a pure devotee as an associate of the Lord, is very dear to the Lord, more dear than the Lord himself, then he ends up becoming a pure devotee also. This is the secret of success. Attaching, when one has developed the attachment for a pure devotee, invariably. So this is the way, this is how. But here something very interesting. Srila Prabhupada is quoting Prahlad Maharaj, just to glorify Prahlad Maharaj. So Srila Prahlad Maharaj in 5th canto, in 18th chapter, from 9 to 14. 9 to 14, how many shlokas? 8 to 14 actually, 8 to 14, the 7 shlokas spoken by Prahlad Maharaj in Hari Vansha, praying to Lord Nrsimhadev by chanting a special mantra, that is shlok number 8, I think. And then 9 to 14, Prahlad Maharaj is glorifying actually this process of pure devotional service, and also in this shloka he is glorifying a devotee, a pure devotee. And here Srila Prabhupada is quoting Prahlad Maharaj's own quotation to glorify him. This Yashyasti Bhaktir Bhagavati Akinchana Sarvair Gunais Tattva Samasate Suraha Harava Bhaktasya Kuto Mahatguna Manorathena Asati Dhavato Vahi. This is spoken by Prahlad Maharaj in glorification of a pure devotee. See, invariably, one who glorifies a pure devotee becomes a pure devotee, isn't it? And Srila Prabhupada here is glorifying, misusing the quotation of Prahlad Maharaj himself to glorify him. In the same way, when we think of the activities and the instructions of pure devotees, we can use them, even their own glorification. Whereas Prahlad Maharaj and the pure devotees, when they glorify pure devotees, they are not thinking of their own glory. They are thinking of the glories of other pure devotees. So this is the process. In order to become a pure devotee, one has to heartily, with great vigor, enthusiasm, should glorify pure devotees. Because the nature of pure devotional service, only when the living entity conditioned soul, when he takes the shelter of the pure devotional process of pure devotional service, under the guidance, by showing complete surrender, unconditional surrender to the spiritual master, then he becomes properly sheltered. And Prahlad Maharaj, in that same prayers, using something very interesting, where he says, just as aquatics, he compares the conditioned souls, their position in this world when they have taken shelter of this material energy. It's just like aquatics out of the water. So this is the injunction that unless one takes shelter of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Harir hi Sakshat Bhagwan Sharirinam Atma Jashanam Iva Toyam Ipsitam. Just as the aquatics naturally desire the water, to take shelter in the water. If the aquatics come out of the water, what is their situation? Same is the situation of the conditioned souls, if they have not taken shelter of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. So unless the person comes to this understanding, he will be still wandering externally. Harava bhaktasya kuto mahatma. He may have so much accomplishment, so many apparently wonderful qualities, strength, austerity, and all these things. But without taking shelter of a pure devotee or the process of pure devotional service, he's hovering, he's wandering on the external. This is what the shloka indicates. So in the translation, Srila Prabhupada writes that a pure devotee has all the wonderful qualities of divine qualities, both material and spiritual manifest, but because he is a pure devotee. But one who is not the devotee of the Lord, harav abhaktasya kuto mahatmana. He may apparently have some qualities, but they are dangerous. Other day we discussed that, guna gunageshu guna bhavanti. Again, this shloka I would like to quote. Guna gunageshu guna bhavanti, te nirgunam prapya bhavanti dosha. Suswadu toya prabhavanti nadya, samudram asadya bhavanti apeya. The rivers naturally, when they flow from the mountain, they gather all the minerals and wonderful things. Very, very tasty water. Rivers all have naturally very tasty water. So these are like good qualities. But when the person with good qualities or these good qualities, when they associate or become connected to the asat person or the nirgunam. Nirgunam means one who is devoid of devotion. That's the context here using. Then those so-called good qualities become dangerous. Now we will try to understand this in context of all the wonderful qualities described. The 26 qualities described in Chaitanya Charitamrita. Kripalu, Akrita Dosha, Satya Sara Sama, Nidosha Badanya Mridu Shuchi Akinchana, Sarvopakarak Shanta Krishnaika Sharana, Akama Aniha Sthira Vijita Shadaguna, Mitabhuka, Apramatta Manada Amani, Gambhira Karuna Maitra Kavi Dakshamani. So out of these 26 qualities, which is the primary? Primary is, everybody knows, Krishnaika Sharana, one who is exclusively devoted to Krishna, that is pure devotee. So unless one is exclusively devoted to Krishna, all these qualities won't become ornaments. Rather, they will be very dangerous, because if people associate with anyone who is not a pure devotee or who is not following the path of pure devotional service, and if he manifests apparently this Kripalu, Akrita Droha, he's very merciful, he doesn't fight with anybody, Akrita, Satyasar, very like Satyavadi, like Mahatma Gandhi, so-called Mahatma. People call just because they're truthful, So these qualities, if they are seen and they attract people's attention, but if he's not a pure devotee, if he becomes attached to such people endowed with such qualities, he will be depriving himself from becoming a pure devotee. That dangerous. Okay, can we see the context here? So these wonderful qualities, definitely, if any kripa or if any connection of a pure devotee will benefit the conditioned soul to become a pure devotee himself. But if there are many people who appear as great spiritualist and great educationists and great karmavadis, jnanis, and and they demonstrate a lot of austerities, a lot of discipline, a lot of truthfulness, and all these things. But all these qualities, they remain within the three modes of material nature. At the best, in a mode of goodness, correct? But because they are bereft of pure devotional service, these very qualities keep the person attached on the mundane platform, on the material platform. But the very purpose of this Bhagavatam study and the instructions, how to transcendentalize, how to become transcendentally kripalu. So-called kripa, if it does not expose our potential to become a pure devotee, what is the value of that kripa? That kripa will keep us deprived, and we think that we got blessed by such a kripalu person. There are many some kripalu Maharaj, correct? Some people may have the name kripalu Maharaj or Akrodha Maharaj. There are many Maharajas, so-called big stalwarts, austere. So here, Hiranyakashipu is like a big Maharaj. He's endowed with, he got everything under his control. But he could not control himself because he has not taken shelter of the pure devotee of the Lord. But conversely, Prahlad Maharaj described. Prahlad Maharaj is his son. They are in Puranas described. Prahlad Maharaj is like four brothers here, total four, but four brothers also describes him. Prahlad, there is Sahlad, there is Ahlad, Shivi and Vaskal. These are the four brothers of Prahlad Maharaj, and then one sister, Simhika, and So these are, but Prahlad Maharaj is the best of all because he is a pure devotee, basically. And being a pure devotee, he's demonstrating all this wonderful poetry. This is what we'll be studying in the forthcoming shlokas. All the wonderful, whole chapter from now on is devoted, glorifying different wonderful qualities and behavioral wonderful nature of Prahlad Maharaj. So the whole idea is pure devotional service. If that is missing, then they become. What is these 26 qualities? They are like a Swarup Lakshan and the Tatast Lakshan. As we know that devotee is Swarup Lakshan, he's exclusively devoted to Krishna. Krishnaika Sharana. That is the primary quality. Tatastha means Akriti Prakriti bole Swarupa Lakshan. Then Karya Dwara, by what he does, the Tatastha Lakshan. To understand this, an example can be given. If we see a person wearing dhoti, tilak, and kurta, and Vaishnava attire, and we can say that he is a Vaishnava or a Brahmin, we can say that. Huh? But whether he is a learned or not, that can be found only if we associate and we find out what he does, whether he speaks, So by just looking Akriti and Prakriti, that is his soul practice. So in the same way, a pure devotee, just by his natural demeanor, we can see Krishna is a fully devoted to Krishna because his very countenance, his very appearance will attract, is very attractive. And other qualities only when what he does. But so just by seeing, it may not appear what he does, whether he's learned or not. But he's devoted to Krishna. That can be seen. So other qualities, they beautify the pure, that primary quality, that is exclusively devoted to Krishna. Then he is truly Kripalu, Akrita Droha. And even to begin with, or in the beginning, pure devotee, one who is situated in pure devotional service process, he may not have very apparently all these qualities. Like by nature, somebody may not be maybe like little angry mood, Akrita Droha, argumentative. But slowly and gradually, because he is in the process of pure devotional service, all these wonderful symptoms will sprout, will manifest in his life. So because he has captured the real thing, he has taken the shelter of pure devotional service. Kripalu Akrita Satya Sara Sama Nidosha Vadanya Mridu, and all these beautiful features will manifest. because pure devotional service is so purifying, and elevating our consciousness. A person's conscience and consciousness, his discretion, his viveka becomes very, 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 very awakened. And that way, naturally, all these beautiful qualities which we discussed, they will become manifest. One who is not a pure devotee, he may be situated very loftily in the material estimation, in the yoga, in so-called yoga, karma yoga, or jnana yoga, or ashtanga yoga, or many yogas. Means so many ventures in the material world, but lacking the pure devotional service, all other qualities. Srila Prabhupada says they may have some material qualities, but they are of no value. But here I want to go one step further, that not only not value to himself, but they could cause lot of dangers, lot of deprivation in the lives of many, because people in the materialistic atmosphere, people do become attracted and to people who are endowed with such qualities, to the wrong end. These qualities have to be glorified in a pure devotee. These qualities, if they appear in not a pure devotee, then they will bind us to this material goodness, material piety, material truthfulness, and all these things. So it's a clear message given here, and because the position of the living entities, conditioned souls, if they remain outside the water of pure devotional service, or it's a natural tendency of the conditioned souls to remain connected to the Supreme Lord, who is the very source and very very atmosphere. Harir hi sakshat Bhagwan Sharirinam Atma Jashanam Iva Toyam Ipsitam. Supreme is dear, naturally dear to all the living entities, just like the toyam, the water, is dear to the aquatics, correct? And all conditioned living entities naturally desire to remain in this vast existence of the Supreme Lord. It's a natural connection. He's the Anshi, he's the very source of all of us, the Supreme Lord. And not acknowledging, not becoming aware of it, not realizing this. If someone very great by just material calculations fails to take shelter of the Supreme Lord, then what happens? And instead becomes attached to material household life. Then his greatness is like that of a young couple. One who is too attached to material life loses all good spiritual qualities. Wow. So without connection to Krishna consciousness, all this, all our situations in this material world, they make us bereft of perfecting our human potential. So that's the thing, and that's why Srimad-Bhagavatam again and again encourages and tells that yes, even in human form of life, we are not deprived of animalistic life and animalistic propensities. But how long? That's the question. People do get married. 99.99% people get married. But it's like because everybody is doing it, so people say, yeah, this is normal. This is not normal actually, but it has been made normal. Look normal, appear normal. This appears normal only until the spiritual awakening has not taken place. So what we are doing is studying here in Srimad-Bhagavatam. Anybody who studies Srimad-Bhagavatam, He's already supposed to be awakened to the reality of this material existence and the possibility of attaining our spiritual atmosphere, eternity. If we still don't appreciate the possibility of attaining eternal status quo of the soul, attaining, contemplating and attaining our spiritual body, because body we are all attached to, but we have the option to settle for, go for the eternal body. That is the idea. And this we experience through consciousness. Through consciousness, we can experience transcendence even in this realm of three modes of material nature. Although we are in this realm, but pure devotional service, the Krishna has manifested in this world of three modes of material nature. And he has left his impressions, he has left the impressions on the Holy Land, on the Dham where he manifests. Then the parampara of the pure devotees and the process of pure devotional service, they are available for human society. And if we, in spite of following religiosity, if a person remains bereft of understanding the ultimate purpose of religion, religion is not to just boost and support our animalistic propensities. The purpose of religion, dharma, ultimately is to free us from the entanglement in this worldly enjoyments and worldly pursuits. But that is only possible only by developing the devotional, pure devotional connection. Param drishtva nivartate. So this Bhagavad study, it directly allows us to absorb our consciousness in our divine life. Just as Krishna has a spiritual body, and if we develop our consciousness out of what is Bhagavatam describes, yatra yatra manodehi dharayet sakalam dhyam. This is the yatra yatra manodehi. Dehi means this spirit soul, one who has occupied this body. Yatra yatra manodehi dharayet sakalam dhyam, with his full concentration. Sakalam dhyam. Dhyam is buddhi, with all his attention. Manodehi, with the mind, wherever the living entity fixes his mind with full concentration of his buddhi. Snehat dveshat. The full concentration is accomplished out of three ways. There are many ways, but basically, snehat means out of love. Dveshat means out of envy. Bhayad vapi, or out of fear. Snehat dveshat bhayad vapi, yati tattat swarupatam. One attains the same nature as one has become attached with full concentration out of the sentiment of love, envy, or fear. That is the science of consciousness. In this chapter and also in 11th chapter, the famous example of that, the wasp. In the consciousness of the wasp, a small insect, he becomes absorbed in the thought of the wasp out of fear. And without quitting his wasp body, the body itself becomes converted into a wasp body. So this is the potency of consciousness. Even material body becomes, because material body means made of these five elements. And due to consciousness concentrated on the wasp, the insect body, becomes converted into wasp body. This is seen in nature. Kitah peshas kritam dhyayan. Kudyam tena praveshita yati tat satmatam rajan purva rupam asamkshayat. Without quitting or, the insect dying, no. insect comes out because of his strong, tremendous concentration, absorption in a wasp. It comes out, becomes a wasp. Many times Mayavadi give this example to wrong end, Their description is, see, the insect was meditating on wasp, so it became wasp. But it became another wasp. It's not that the wasp on which it was meditating, the wasp flies away, but the insect remains stunned in that condition, thinking of the wasp, and its body becomes converted into wasp body. So can we imagine that out of love or envy or fear, if we focus on our connection to Krishna, connection to pure devotional service, our connection and attachment to a pure devotee. Three things: attachment to a devotee, attachment to pure devotional service, attachment to Bhagavan. So how to accomplish attachment to Bhagavan? The Bhagavad process is that one has to find one's attachment, dedication, loving attachment to a pure devotee. That guarantees our attachment to Bhagavan. Because we have to have experience something so sublime out of this world. Our experience of attachment in this world is always always comes with some kind of motivation, some expectation. But beyond pure attachment to the service of the spiritual master, that would do it for anybody. Actually, something we must venture to attain, because Krishna is still very far. It's a nice way to think that Krishna is very far from me. This is the teaching of Mahaprabhu. Mahaprabhu has taught us that a sadhaka should think Krishna is very far and I am bereft of him, rather than thinking Krishna is very next to him. Krishna is within my reach. Of course, by crying out, Krishna does become within our reach, but crying out has to be there. No? So simultaneously, Krishna is very far, and with the crying, he is within crying distance, calling distance, as we discuss. So the whole idea is that without attaching oneself to a pure devotee, one cannot become a pure devotee. It's a lengthy process otherwise. But the shortest and surest cut, it guarantees. Prahlad Maharaj, so grateful to his spiritual master, Narad Muni, and see, he is glorifying the pure devotees, and he is glorifying the pure devotional process and the Supreme Personality of Godhead in his prayer. So, 5th canto, 18th chapter, slok number 8 to 14. It's a very wonderful. It describes the consciousness and the attitude and what kind of feeling of benevolence for all the living entities. Prahlad Maharaj's inner core, how a pure devotee feels and thinks, and is very wonderful. Described Srila Prabhupada is given in this purport, little indication. But whole idea is when one is sheltered by the pure devotee and pure devotional process, and that means he is sheltered by Krishna. This is the process. So one who is a Guru Das is truly, definitely Krishna Das. We can say that. This is the very point. What is the proof that someone is a devotee? It is, what is the proof? It is that one is devoted to a devotee. One does, generally we say, one does bhakti for the pleasure of Krishna, correct? Definitely. That is also the instruction given to all of us. Our spiritual master also, once somebody asked Prabhupada, what will please you the most? And different places, different times, Prabhupada gave different answers. Once he said, if you love Krishna, that will please me the most. So naturally, the spiritual master wants us to love Krishna. But can we appreciate enough how much our spiritual master loves Krishna? So this is the process. This Bhagavad culture is a process of appreciation. If we appreciate a pure devotee's qualities, if we appreciate the purity of a pure devotee, the fully blessedness of our spiritual master, then so keeping the pleasure and satisfaction of the spiritual master, that will definitely please Krishna, and that is the secret of success. But these wonderful qualities, they will manifest in us. We have to just focus on becoming a pure devotee by making our life mission to please the spiritual master. And because sometimes the temptation is, oh, I want to absorb in Krishna's thought and Krishna's pastimes and everything wonderful, love of Krishna absorb. But there is in our line, there is a concept of Premanand, experiencing the joy of Prema, loving Krishna, attraction to Krishna. And there is Sevanand. Sevanand then versus Premanand. So it's greater than Premanand is Sevanand. Sevanand means bringing satisfaction and joy to Krishna. In Premananda, we experience joy of seeing Krishna, Krishna's Nam, Rupa, Gun, Lila. But it may cause ourselves, we may become absorbed in our experiencing the joy, and that may hinder our service to Krishna and the spiritual master. So a pure devotee hankers for Sevananda more than Premananda. Hare Krishna. So thank you very much for your time and patience. Anybody has any question or comments, please come forward.
Hare Krishna Maharaji, thank you for this nice and wonderful class. Yeah, if anyone is having any question regarding today's class, they can raise the hand and ask His Holiness Bhakti Govind Maharaj. Yes, Haripad Prabhuji, please.
Hare Krishna. Yes, you can also appear on the screen for the benefit of all.
Okay.
I think at least those who ask questions, they should appear. It's just a suggestion if it works. Thank you. How can we serve you?
Yeah, one question is like you told like this insect is getting a wasp body without leaving the body.
Yes.
Just by thinking of the wasp. And the scientists also say that this Darwin say that this monkey has become man. So how do you understand? What is the difference?
Yeah, they missed out on the real thing. They missed out on the consciousness. Consciousness when becomes absorbed, and so monkey has to first see man.
Yeah.
So that means man already existed. It's not monkey become man. So their argument is totally ludicrous, actually, in the sense that they are totally ignoring the power of consciousness. Whereas Bhagavatam is totally means how a conditioned soul becomes a pure devotee. This is the process we are discussing. We have to, if we have spotted a pure devotee, just by attaching to him, such an amazing instruction in Srimad-Bhagavatam. Tato dusangam utsijya. Dusangam means our conditional state. Utsijya means completely uprooted. Satsu sajjeta. The process is by becoming attached to a pure devotee. It's, I think, 11/20/26. My memory is very weak, but this shloka is very powerful. It was very fascinating. Tato dusangam utsijya satsu sajjeta buddhiman. One becomes intelligent only by becoming attached to a pure devotee. Buddhiman means now his potential to become a pure devotee has been exposed. And how it becomes that he has become attached to a pure devotee. So what happens when you become attached to someone, to please that person, you modify yourself big time. Correct? The bad habits and all these asat things which are very difficult for you to get over, but you want to please someone, correct? You become attached to someone. Then instantaneously, in America, this word is used very much. Instantly could be very long, but instantaneously means a person thinks of transforming him. Otherwise, on one's own, it's very difficult. Santaha evasya chindanti mano vyasanga muktibhi. And what happens then, whatever wonderful, powerful instructions of a pure devotee, do this, and we think it is for our best interest. And if we find our attachment to a pure devotee, then our transformation, purification is very fast. Same thing described in Srimad-Bhagavatam also. Na tathahi aghavan rajan puyeta tapadibhi yatha krishnarpita pranastat purusha nishivaya. By unconditionally serving a person who is fully karmana mansa vacha devoted, one who has devoted his prana, whole life to the service of Krishna, if we unconditionally serve that person, then all the anarthas which would otherwise take how many lifetimes, they become uprooted very fast. So in your question, the consciousness, that missing link, and so how we become conscious of something which didn't exist? We didn't exist.
Yes, Maharaj. Thank you.
All right.
Hare Krishna. Yeah, Maharaj, we have a question by our Balram. Yes, Balram ji, please.
Of course, yes.
Hare Krishna Maharaji, Dandavat Pranam.
But Balramji, please appear on the screen for the
Maharaji, I had cold. That's why I have not taken bath and just sitting.
It's all right. Your face can appear.
Okay, for some time.
Okay. Continue. Question.
Hare Krishna Maharaji, Dandavat Pranam.
Hare Krishna.
Yeah. So the question is, it's a nice class about what I feel the transmigration, and so I mean, you talked about this Vaspa, because it's thinking about before Vaspa, insect.
Insect is thinking of the wasp.
Wasp, yeah. So insect becomes wasp. So it is about the transmigration. So that means it's about the body. But when we think about the soul, how it is, about this connection to Krishna, how the soul gets or achieves this position to serve Krishna. Because when we think about this anything, well, Krishna also said in Bhagavad Gita that while thinking of anything, the mind is very powerful. So when we think, even during death or even before, the body can change. but how it is connected to the soul, so that
Yes.
yeah, so it is a
So
little bit difficult.
we have to explore our options. In this Bhagavad culture, we are exploring our options. So the option is also there to attain our eternal body. You know, this is described. All the souls, all of us, we have our eternal body waiting for us. You know, in the spiritual realm, where they are manifest as the decoration of the dham of the abode. And so, consciousness, when we become conscious of our eternal or divine status quo, as an associate of Krishna, as a in our line, what Mahaprabhu exposed our fortune to become a maid servant of Srimati Radharani. So there is a description how one should contemplate about one's eternal rupa, which is fully conducive to our swarupa as an eternal servant of Krishna. If I say my identity by Jivera Swarupa Krishna Nityadas, then I will be thinking of this body, correct? But this body is not Nityadas. It is the my becoming conscious of my eternal rupa. Because with this filthy and decaying and body, I cannot do Krishna Seva eternally. So our option has to be, our consciousness has to target our eternal rupa. If our consciousness is targeting to some very powerful rupa or attractive rupa, male to female or female to male or powerful or this and that, if our concentration is on anything very attractive apparently, but within the three modes of material nature, then our consciousness will carry, the Prakriti will arrange our achievement. So since eternity, we have been targeting only these bodies, superior body, Swarga body, or
how this spiritual body is connected to the material body and the transformation in the material body that changes also spiritual nature, or what happens?
We studied when before the process, Krishna and his eternal associates, they have a spiritual body, correct? So when we accept in the same line, when we become attached to the spiritual master, and we perceive the spiritual master also in his eternal rupa, as an intimate associate of the divine couple, or intimate manjari of Srimati Radharani. And so in subservience, anugatya, our process of pure devotion service is becoming subservient to the spiritual master, who in eternal rupa is a maid servant of Srimati Radharani, under the guidance of this hierarchy. The whole idea is, if we don't explore this option, then we will remain limited to our options in this material world. And so that is to see that how we perceive the status of our spiritual master status quo. If you perceive our Gurudev as Swarupa Manjari, situated in the service of Srimati Radharani, under the guidance of Rupa Manjari, the whole idea is that is the fortune exposed to us. How can we afford not to explore that option? It is exposed by Mahaprabhu and his followers for all of us. Ultimately, that is the way out. But our easiest and direct process is to appreciate a pure devotee, our spiritual master, as such. That will boost our, expedite our attraction, attachment to that potential of ours. all these examples in Bhagavatam given about the insect and wasp is the potency of consciousness, power of consciousness. Consciousness when we become informed about something so sublime, then naturally we can contemplate. So our contemplation has to become divine subject matter. And when we become attached to a pure devotee, then what happens? Everything about him we like. Whatever he wants, we want to do. Pleasing him becomes our primary priority. And that pleases Krishna. And by Krishna's mercy, so ultimately, very consciously, if we dedicate our lives to the instructions and order of the spiritual master, then it will cause our devotion or attachment to him, and that will impel Krishna, that will inspire Krishna to bestow his full mercy, to bestow his pure love to the sadhaka. So rather than making so many endeavors, so many austerities and all these things, which of course very good, but we need a guarantee, correct? Our lifetime is very small and we want something surety, because endeavor we have done in Janma Koti Sukrita na labhyate, in the name of many pieties and many austerities.
Maharaj, I just want to add one point here. You said Sneha, Bhaya, and Dvesa. By these three means, if one is attached to Lord Krishna,
one becomes absorbed.
One becomes absorbed. So can you connect this with whatever transformation we are doing? Or what transformation occurs when the living entity or the conditioned living entity transforms to the, let's say, the spiritual state. Yeah.
Yes, so the whole idea is why these three things are described. Even out of fear and out of envy also, one becomes transformed, whatever the object of envy or object of fear, and just think of lovingly if one absorbs in the thought of Krishna. So out of envy, Shishupal, correct? He attained the full favor of Krishna. And out of fear, Kansa, they attained also Krishna's abode or Krishna's, because absorption in Krishna, even out of fear or out of envy, the absorption matters, because it's a science of consciousness. When consciousness becomes absorbed into anything, one attains the status of that object of his attachment out of fear or envy. But we, as the practicing sadhakas, we attach to the devotional process, to a devotee, to Krishna, out of love, So our absorption, rather, not attachment, our absorption is out of love, and the loving attachment to the lotus feet of the spiritual master is an intimate associate of Krishna. What else we need? We need, if this is the guarantee, if we have realized, if we have become blessed to realize the divine status of a pure devotee, and it causes our becoming attached to him, what else we need? It definitely attracts Krishna, because if one tries to attract Krishna through his austerity and many means, it's very difficult, But Bhagavad culture again emphasizes that if you become attached to if you have spotted a pure devotee in your life, and you become attached to him by becoming dedicated to him, Krishna guarantees his love upon him. So that is the process. So Prahlad Maharaj here describe he's glorified that he has all the wonderful qualities because of his becoming attached to Krishna by becoming a follower of Narad Muni, a pure devotee. Period. Hare Krishna.
Yes, Maharaj. Thank you very much. Very nice. But still, I'm a little bit didn't understand that quite clearly. But maybe we'll discuss some other time. And it will
It's
be-
a sign. It's a potency of consciousness. If you become confident, if you become convinced about the possibility of attaining a pure or eternal body, would you not contemplate on that?
Yeah, of course.
Because all our contemplation has caused our entanglement in this material realm since eternity. Now is the time. Mahaprabhu has come and inspired us. He has given us the process, and also so ultimately, who is the greatest devotee of Krishna? Radharani, correct?
Hmm.
So why he is exposed? Why Goswami is exposed to take shelter? The necessity of taking shelter of the lotus feet of Radharani. How we do it? Those who have taken shelter of Radharani's lotus feet, the Manjaris, in all our Goswamis and Prabhupadas and Sripadas, they are all Manjari Rupa. And if we appreciate their divine status as such, that means our aspiration, how you take shelter of a Manjari? Only by contemplating yourself also as a Manjari Rupa. That is the ultimate gift Mahaprabhu has given us. He is just exposing to us this contemplation, this absorbing the consciousness in our eternal Rupa. And that way, and it will reflect, its effect will reflect in our external behavior, in our speech, in our actions and everything. The internal meditation, it's a very, very essential to move forward. Just think of, I'll just give you practical examples. Listen very carefully, and the two songs sung by our spiritual master. To appreciate the fullest glory of Guru Maharaj is very, very difficult, but if we can get a glimpse of his glorious inner meditation, that will be reflected. Dekhite dekhite bhulibo ba kabe nije sthula parichaya. And the second slok is, what is the second slok? Kabe gauravani suradhuni tate ha radhe ha Krishna boli kandiya bedabo deh sukh chhadi nana lata tarutale brajaba gauda brajabani bhidna dekhibo haibo barajabasi dhamira swarupa spuribe nayane ami haibo radhar dasi. This is the conclusion of
Yes, very nice.
what, and the other one, it ends with this prema mugdha praya, prema mugdha hoy, prema mugdha haya pagilini praya gaibo radhara jasha. So who will glorify Srimati Radharani? Who will become Radharani's dasi? So can we be helped to contemplate about this potential of ours as an eternal maidservant of Srimati Radharani? So that is, to that end, we have to take our consciousness in our contemplation. Because with this material body or some better body or a heavenly body or this low body, these are the exposure. We have taken these options. If we want to go for the best, why should we settle for less? Hare Krishna.
Yeah, thank you, Maharaj. Excellent. Very, very, very nice. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. Yeah, Maharaji, we have a question by Srikant Prabhu. Before that, I have a quick question. So, yeah, in this last example that you have given, is new soul coming into existence or the soul being constant there? If it is changing, what it exactly is the changing
Oh,
there?
soul is the same. Soul is the same. Soul is the same. It's because of its absorption on a material object, the wasp, it attains the same atmosphere as the wasp. Or atmosphere means the body as the wasp. The consciousness is the property of the soul. So the insect means, when we say insect, it's the insect body, correct? So within the body is the soul, and it becomes absorbed out of fear in the body of a wasp. So by that consciousness, because somebody may ask the question, what is the proof that after giving up the body, we get another body or transmigration? Krishna gives a very scientific example in Kaumara Yavanam Jara. What is the shloka? Kaumaram Yavana Yatha Dehantara Prapti Dhiras Tatranam Yati. In this very lifetime, we transfer the soul is transferred from the little infant body to youthful body and to old body, and like this. What is that shloka? Kaumaram Yavanam Jara Tatha Dehantara Prapti. Dehi nosmin Yatha Dehi. So just think of, connect these two shlokas, then you will get very. Dehi nosmin Yatha Dehi Kaumaram Yavanam Jara. The consciousness of the soul is transferring from the small body to big body to old body and all these things. It's the same soul, correct? In the same way, when the body becomes, when the soul becomes, or consciousness becomes absorbed, or the soul becomes absorbed in the body, some other body, out of fear or out of envy or out of love. So that's why in Bhagavatam also describes, if a woman is very attached to a man, then in next body she attains the male body. If the man is very attached to a woman, then he gets a womanly body. But these bodies, male or female, they are within the material world. But if we contemplate on our spiritual body as a Manjari or as a Gopa, associate of Krishna, depending on whatever sentiments, whatever engagement we want to have with Krishna or the divine couple. So those that contemplation is we have to explore. We must explore what is our supreme option. Why should we remain underachiever? Why should we underperform? We have underperformed since eternity. Somehow or other, we have underperformed. That's why we are stuck here. But in this very lifetime, we can find our consciousness absorbed in our eternal body, eternal rupa. And that will definitely be worthwhile if we join this path of Mahaprabhu like this. All right.
Yes, thank you, Maharaji. Yeah, we have question by our Srikant Prabhuji. It says like this: is Prahlad Maharaj a Nitya Mukta Atma? I mean, does he descend from spiritual world?
He is in the spiritual world. So one who is in the spiritual world is a Nitya Atma. Once one attains the once one becomes a pure devotee, he becomes a Nitya. But I know his question is because they are Nitya Mukta and Baddha Mukta and Baddha different devotees. Actually, once one becomes a pure devotee, then they all attain eternal status. So it really doesn't matter. We have to become a pure devotee and attain the eternal status which is waiting for all of us. And this is what Krishna expects all of us. That's why he has made this arrangement of this Bhagavad culture. Once we become pure devotee, becoming blessed by a pure devotee, this anugatya, this process is eternally subservient. In the material world, when we see the process of subservience, then we want to catch up to someone. We want to become someone equal to someone, then go ahead of you, someone. But in our process, when we accept the subservience of the spiritual master, we are eternally subservient to him. It's not that now I also for the process, now I become equal to him and now I can go ahead of him. The consciousness in subservience is also, anugatya is also eternal. That's the process. So this process of pure devotional service is eternal. Every aspect of it is also eternal. You know, sadhana bhakti also is non-different from sadhya in the process of pure devotional service. That's why our sadhana in beginning is just appears as very troublesome and austere, but when through dedication, when we develop the affinity, then it becomes spontaneous. You know, they are non-different actually. They are. It's a beginning aspect. You know, it's like they say that what is that? Pakva, apakva, pakva, paripakva. Apakva like a raw mango. Usko कहते हैं केरी ना. Apakva, when it starts little you know, showing some nice color from green to yellow, it is becoming pakva. Then paripakva means prem bhakti, bhav bhakti, and the sadhana bhakti. So the beginning stage appears like a hard mango, you know, but same mango becomes converted, becomes pakva and paripakva. So Prahlad Maharaj, being a pure devotee, full plays absorption in the shelter of Krishna. So he's an eternal associate of the Lord. Whether he has become through sadhana or previously he was a conditioned soul or not, I cannot make a comment because I don't have the information specific. But once when becomes a pure devotee, then he's eternal associate of the Lord. Hare Krishna. All right, Nitya Mukta Atma, I mean, does he descend from spiritual world? Yadi Gaur nahi tabi kiye to kemane dahitam de. Very nice bhajan. Yes.
Yeah, Maharaji, maybe we can conclude if it's okay.
Okay. Vancha kalpatarubhyascha kripa sindhubhyeva patitanam pavanebhyo vaishnaveभ्यो अनंत कोटि वैष्णव वृंद की जय। श्री श्रीपाद गुरु महाराज की जय। श्री प्रभुपाद की जय। समावेत निताई गौर भक्त वृंद की जय। निताई गौर प्रेमानंदे हरि हरि।
His Holiness Bhakti Swarup Govind Maharaj ki jai. Thank you all for joining.
गौर भक्त वृंद की जय। गौर प्रेमानंदे हरि हरि।
See you all in tomorrow's class. Hare Krishna.
हरे कृष्ण।